Hey, good morning, David.
Morning, Adam. How are you?
Oh, getting better. Still not 100%,
Did you
but
have COVID?
no, well, at least I got tested twice and both times was negative. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I never went to like a clinic or anything.
yeah.
Uh, I never got a flu swab, and I'm wondering if that's what it was.
Mm,
But it felt like a sinus infection.
yep,
I don't know, but getting better. Yeah, I didn't want to risk coming in today.
yep.
Give it enough time just to make sure I'm not still contagious.
I appreciate that.
I thought you might.
Thank
Don't
you.
worry, I'll go and infect people at work. It's all good.
There are probably enough people doing that, Adam.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think that's how I got this to begin with.
Probably.
So, how have you been? How was your week?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Nice to have the weather easing up.
Yeah. There's a little bit of sunshine. Feels real good.
Yeah. Been able to sit on the deck a couple of days for a little bit, and
Nice.
yeah, feels like spring might be coming.
Right around the corner.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, this whole climate thing really disturbs me, though.
I haven't caught too much wind of it. I saw, I think, a headline. They're holding some sort of seminar or something to dissuade the naysayers.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of it's
Morning.
concerning. It's concerning, and I'm, look at our kids who are your age, and they're thinking twice about having children because of that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's tough. Morning, guys.
morning, Bill and Bill.
Morning.
I like to read a lot of the post-apocalyptic novels, so that doesn't set you up for a good view of the future.
Yeah, right.
A lot of worst case scenarios there.
Have
Read
you
the newspaper.
yeah. Have you read Elliot Patterson's series of those?
I'm not sure if I have.
I can't remember the title. He's the guy that also wrote the 8 books on Tibet, featuring Inspector Shan, which I must have mentioned at some point because I'm probably reading them for the 3rd or 4th time.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. I read one of those back in a long time ago when you first mentioned it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He actually completed 8 in the series,
Wow.
and doesn't give a very happy picture of the Chinese in Tibet or up in the Kazakh Uyghur area, but fascinating books and fascinating, really Buddhist information, Tibetan Buddhist information. He clearly is very, very highly informed about that. I'm not sure. I don't know how much of a practitioner he is, but clearly he has a lot of good resources.
no, I haven't read him before. It's a series of this Inspector series.
Yeah, it actually you can Google it. Just the Inspector Sean series in order and they'll come up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's that well known.
nice.
He was a Chinese inspector who, police inspector who got too good at rooting out corruption in government officials.
Hmm.
And they end up putting him in a Tibetan gulag. And obviously removing him. And the gulag has many Tibetan Buddhist lamas in it. And he goes through an incredible transformation. And then it goes on from there, and he and a couple of the specific lamas from the gulag get a reputation for solving problems or issues or mysteries, and so they travel all over Tibet doing that.
That sounds good.
They're fascinating. For me, they're fascinating. I don't know that they're that fascinating for everybody, but
You've rekindled my interest. It was a fascinating insight culturally. If you weren't into the investigation itself, you got a lot of sidebars for the culture.
right. Yeah. I'm rereading the second one right at the moment, Water Touching Stone, which is about the Kazakh Uyghur area up north of Tibet, where the Chinese have been, if anything, more brutal than they have been in Tibet, which is hard to imagine, but anyway. Where is Joanne?
Joanne.
You have her in the other room there? Don't think I've had a message from her. No, oh, there she is. She must have been in a meeting. There we go. Ah, yes, the Voluntown Peace Trust.
Oh, has arrived. The last 3 times it didn't say that. I don't know why it does now.
I hope
Good
it's at
morning.
least,
I will rename myself.
yes.
We
Sorry
know
for
who
the
you
delay.
are, Joanne.
Yeah, right. I just need to keep, I don't need to be reminded of the work I still have to do for that group right now. So,
I hope Voluntown is peaceful.
I don't know about that, but out of their white roots, it's a little challenging these days.
Anyway,
Sorry. I'm leaving town on Friday morning and everybody has decided to text me this morning trying to meet with me before I leave, so.
Yeah.
Holding them back. Anyway,
Lots of luck.
morning, everybody. Yeah, right.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody there. Adam, how are you feeling after your last week? You were pretty under the weather.
Recovering, not 100% yet, but
It was
yeah.
just a cold.
there. I don't know what it was, sinus infection, maybe the flu. It wasn't COVID.
Wasn't COVID, so you know what it was, it's not what it was.
Yeah, yesterday was the
Where it
first
is.
day I really started to feel better, so on the way out.
Good.
Good.
Thanks for asking.
Hey.
So before we begin, I realize this may not be appropriate for everyone, but I am going to ask you to lie on the floor a little bit later. So
Okay.
if you want to get a rug or a mat or something or a blanket, this would be the moment to do it.
Okay.
And I don't see any of you
No,
jumping
I'm
up.
moving.
Good. Yeah, I'm ready.
Just gonna
Okay.
make do with the regular floor.
Yeah.
get on the floor. It's getting my knees to get me off the floor.
Yeah.
I'm in the same spot there.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, I will admit I get up more slowly than I used to. Okay. So any questions? Issues that have come up in your practice?
Yes. I think that, and even how to think about this, or how to explain it. I think it is, I've been really trying to concentrate in number 4 on the energy going down my legs and then back up my legs. And still feeling a bit off on timing. Or I'm not sure if it's timing. I'm not sure if it's where the intent is on the energy flow in my hands. Is the energy, how the energy is going into the ground and back up. So I just kind of all of the, every practice I did this week was kind of like doing some combination of experimenting and trying to feel it more. I kind of feel like the top half is doing pretty well, but the bottom half isn't. So that's a way to put it. I don't know how other people are doing with that aspect of it, but I don't want to disconnect my body.
Yeah. Well, I will talk about that. And anything else anyone else wants to throw into my my thinking here today? Nothing for anybody else. Okay.
Well, I'll say I practiced during the week, but I didn't actually look at the lesson that I missed last week until early this morning, actually. And I thought the transitions, the demonstration of the transitions was very helpful for me. And, I'm similar. I'm more feeling the energy going, connecting up and down into the earth than the etheric body at this point. And I'm not sure if there's a sort of a distinction. I guess there is a distinction, but the connection between connecting with the earth and connecting with it out and the etheric body, how that all perhaps fused together.
That's
That's sufficiently
all good
amorphous
questions.
comments.
Let me talk a little bit about that.
I guess I could
Go ahead.
chime in too, right along those lines. I mean, I think of all these little things, but I can feel the connection to the earth much more readily than the connection up at the byway. And I don't know if that's normal or
What's normal, Bill?
well, I mean to have that difference. Yeah.
Right.
So well, I might just let me address Bill's comment here, and then I'll talk more in depth about movement 4. The movement of the energy within the body going up and down, but in the torso above the dantian actually moves more from the perineum and the dantian and the diaphragm than it does necessarily from the qua and the legs. And so one of the things is to make sure that in particular the midriff is open, and indeed eventually the midriff is opening and closing. Because if it collapses, then it collapses the diaphragm, and that prevents the energy really fully going beyond that point, and therefore to the top of the head. And of course, when we begin to just focus on the movement of the energy from the dantian to the periphery, in which we're talking about the crown of the head, the fingertips, and the toes, you have to open up everything in order to do that. And that flow is moving within the body. So one of the issues, of course, that all of this is talking about is the fact that we have we have many different flows of energy in the body. The energy is always flowing in both directions simultaneously in all those flows. And it's impossible for you to be initially, certainly, aware of all of them simultaneously. And so you do, when you begin to focus on that, you have to focus on one at a time and hopefully arrive at an awareness and ability to move that particular one with the intent you choose, and then add another one. And so right at the moment, when we're looking at movement 4, we have a number of different things that are happening. So we certainly have, because it is one of the primary focuses in this movement, we're really focusing on the energy moving down those side channels and back up those side channels. That is an important piece of this. But that, of course, is just one part of that flow between the earth and the heavens. But we want to make sure that that particular piece is really active at this point, because in a moment, we're going to work with going into the center and out to the sides and reversing that. But at the same time, the energy is, of course, as it flows down to the qua, continuing on down into the earth and coming back up to the qua and into the side channels and up to the crown of the head and back down and out to the fingertips. So that's all happening as you are doing this. It's not that you're only moving through one part of that circuit. It's continuous. But in movement 4, we begin, well, actually it starts back in movement 2, but really in movement 4, we also have really hopefully beginning to have an increased awareness of the movement in the etheric body. And that, of course, is moving out around us. And one of the things we have to remember is that when we begin to talk about the etheric body or any of the energy bodies, they are spherical. They're all the way around us. It's not just up and down the sides. We feel that energy as we go out to the side. We find where is it that we feel that boundary at the moment, and we raise it up and we lower it back down again. But we're thinking here not only up and down the sides, but out in front and back at the same time. So we have to open, when we begin to talk about the etheric body, we have to open to feeling that all around us, because that's where it is. What else would you like me to say?
Oh, that's good.
Does that help at all?
Yeah,
I think that what I was saying earlier, a moment ago, it's important not to fall into the trap of feeling right away that you have to feel both of those flows fully,
Mhm.
but to just focus on one and stick with it and for a while until you really clearly have a sense of that movement, and then work on the other or an other, because obviously we have the flow moving from the earth to the heavens and back down. We have the flow from the dantian to the extremities and back, and we have the movement within the etheric body, which is also affecting those flows within the body. Nothing to it. Did that help, Joanne?
I think so. I mean, I think I get very particular about where things, I mean, I think that it's clear to me where the channels are, our central channel. I have that feeling. I know they're in the inside, all of that, but my legs, sometimes I kind of get lost as to the back of the knee, the side of the knee, underneath, I'm just I get stuck on feeling lost.
So
Another way to put it, it sounds so defeatist, and it sounds stupid, but because I'm not quite that bad, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. It's not stupid at all. Because the knees are a really a special joint, because while you're absolutely right, when we're talking about simply about the energy moving through the macrocosmic circuit, we think about it going down the outside of the leg, but in reality, yes, it starts down the outside of the leg, but when it goes through the knee, it goes through the back of the knee.
Right.
And then down to the foot.
To the foot, down the back. Or
once it gets through the knee, it may continue down the outside of the leg, but the back would be fine.
okay.
I think one of the real problems with the legs is that we stand on them. We're
Right.
putting weight on them all the time, and so there is a tendency to be relatively tense in the legs. And so finding how you can release that, and obviously you still have to be able to stand up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You can't just collapse onto the floor, and
But we don't collapse our top half either, so yeah.
Yeah, right.
Correlation there.
So it is a matter with the legs of really learning how to release them as much as possible and open those joints so that the energy can flow through, because it's flowing clearly.
Right.
But we want to amplify it to the point where you can clearly feel it.
Right. Yeah.
So again, of course, it all comes back to practice, because you have to discover what that is for you.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at. Right. Kind of figure out some of that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think as always, one of the really important elements is finding how you relax and open and release and are not tense. How do you let go? How do you make it possible to allow the energy to flow?
Yeah.
And that's really that's really a lot of the journey, I think, is, and part of the, a major part of all of these practices is finding how you can do that.
Mhm.
And, I'm trying to point some possible directions, but I can't do it for you.
No. Right.
Just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I don't, I hope that helped a little. Maybe
think so.
confused you a little.
I think
Any
part
other-
of my frustration is that in some of our other work, I've been able to feel the energy more in my legs than I am now. And maybe that's because of my knee problems and my, some fluid in my ankles and the like. So, there might be other physical things getting in the way.
Well, I'm sure those are factors, but I think also you have to remember that anytime you're starting a new practice, in a way, you're starting all over.
Yeah.
Because now there's different movements. We're not doing a lot of what we've done before.
Right.
We're introducing a lot of new elements, and it takes time to make them comfortable and find how to work the energy through.
Yeah, you're saying that when I connect best to the earth through my feet, it has to do with the bubbling well and maybe my weight slightly forward on my foot, not entirely forward, but slightly forward. And that's something I haven't talked much about in this, but as Joanne was mentioning, I do think about that as I'm, doing the fold or the squat, and the biggest connection for me, at least, is when my weight's slightly forward and connecting through that bubbling well, ball of the foot kind of thing.
And that is where you want to be when your movement is raising the energy in the body. When you're sinking the energy in the body, you would want your weight to be that same subtle amount towards the heel, towards Shimian, the heel.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So there is a continuous, very subtle shift. It's not a big movement, as you know. It's a very subtle, it's almost pressure rather than a movement. And it does make a difference to incorporate that into your movements. And we haven't talked about that in this practice particularly, really yet. But that, just as we did it, for instance, in Dragon and Tiger, which I think all of you have done, we talked about that movement of the weight in Dragon and Tiger because it affects how the energy flows. And it's present here too. So, anything else at the moment? Okay. So we're going to go back to breathing today. So the first three parts of Taoist breathing are the diaphragm and belly, the sides, and your liver and spleen. And the next part is your kidneys, which are, as you know, are about the level of your lower ribs. And there are several things that kidney breathing should do. The first one is that your kidneys have a regular internal movement, and your breathing into your kidneys has to make sure that this regular internal movement doesn't get stuck. So the kidneys do what they're supposed to do, and that's enough. The second thing is that around your kidneys and lower back, really all the way down to the area of your sacrum, there are a lot of tissues that very often become shortened. And The breathing, by being regular, tends to bring them to their natural length. And that helps the padding of the kidneys, which protects them. If the muscles have a lot of spring when something hits your back, the spring will take the impact. If you don't have a lot of spring, the force goes straight into your kidneys, which is really not a good idea. If we look at Chinese medicine, God's playing in the clouds is also fused with Chinese medicine. And Qigong is one of the 8 branches of Chinese medicine. Your kidneys are the kickstarter of the circulation of energy between your internal organs. So in terms of your internal organs, your kidneys are your life force, not the Dantian. But given how directly connected the kidneys and the Dantian are, this becomes somewhat of a moot point. But the fact is that in terms of your internal organs, the strength of your body, what kickstarts your other internal organs moving, and where your generalized vitality comes from, it is your kidneys. So having good, strong, healthy kidneys is a way to start having a good, strong, healthy life. Now, as I think all of you have probably heard me talk about this at some point, but the kidneys, remember, are the residents of your Jing, which is the energetic essence that you received at the moment of conception, which includes the energy of obviously your parents and ancestors, and of the universe at that moment. And that energy, the Jing, determines the length and quality of your life. And you can damage it or deplete it by any kind of excess living. You can, however, strengthen it. You can't add anything to it in terms of volume, but you can strengthen it. And that's part of what kidney breathing will do. Now, we do have a problem. Most people have never really thought about feeling their kidneys, unless they watch boxing and have been told that kidney shots are banned, or have studied martial arts and know about the power of a kidney strike. And you know why? Because those can kill. Remember, it is responsible for your internal organs. If it stops working, so do the rest of them. But the point is that people can't differentiate the muscles in their lower back stretching, which you need to be able to do. A lot of people get all kinds of lower back problems simply because of the muscles and ligaments and soft tissue in their lower back have never really had regular movement. And when they do something which puts strain on them, it's too much. And the next thing you know, the muscles of the lower back are destabilized. And then after that, things get kind of worse and the spinal vertebrae start going out. And don't we all love paying for our chiropractor's next payment on his Mercedes? So the problem is most people are not used to feeling their lower back. So we're going to start with a very simple exercise. And if you can, I want you to lie on your back on the floor. If not, then I want you to really make sure that your back is pressing right up against your chair. But the most effective way to work on this is to lie on the floor. And you're going to bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor or flat on whatever surface you're lying on, so that your lower back is as flat on the floor as you can get it. And then begin by just breathing and focusing on your diaphragm, your belly, and your sides, the parts we've worked on so far. Now make sure that you're feeling your diaphragm moving all the way around your body. And that its result is the movement of your belly, where your dantian is located, not your chest. And feel your sides moving. And remember that there are 3 levels of side breathing. First, the soft tissue of the midriff below the ribs. And then the lower ribs. And then clear up into the armpits, where you may not have much movement, but important. And hopefully also making connection to your liver and spleen, the liver on the right and spleen on the left. And then begin to focus on breathing into your lower back until you get as much of your lower back touching the floor as possible. You'd like to feel that movement clear down to around the sacrum. You want to feel that as you're breathing, that you're pushing your lower back into the floor and then releasing it back up your body. When you inhale, you're pushing the floor. And when you're exhaling, you may have a sense of coming a little bit off of the floor. Just be aware of breathing with your entire lower back, along with the sides, the belly, and the diaphragm. And now the question becomes, is some part of your lower back tight? And if it is, very gently breathe into that area a little bit more. So by very gently breathing, you can slowly start from inside your body, stretching the muscles in your lower back until they pretty much equal up on the left and right sides. And as you're doing this, breathing into your lower back, maybe a little bit higher up, you're going to begin to notice that you feel something inside your body. And that something you're feeling are your kidneys. Now, you may know where they are, but it doesn't do you any good to anatomically know where they are if you can't feel them. Because if you can't feel them, you can't affect them. And if you can't affect them, why are you bothering to talk about breathing with your kidneys? So maybe you can breathe into a thought, but that's not breathing into your kidneys. So keep doing this until you become pretty clear that you are breathing with your kidneys. And that you're breathing into your kidneys without forgetting to breathe with your diaphragm, your belly, your sides, and your liver and spleen. All of them are moving together. All moving together. Keep focusing on this as you breathe, because you want to be very, very, very clear about this. If you feel that you can really feel your breath going into your kidneys, just raise your hand. So now just sit up where you are. And put your hands, and it could be either palms or the back of your hands, behind you on your kidneys. And breathe so that your kidney breathing is moving your hands, making your hands go back and forward. In basic Taoist breathing, the kidneys are usually the hardest for most people to do. And many schools don't even mention it. But if you have a good, generous teacher, they will. Just feel your kidneys moving. Feel your lower back moving. Then the next step would be to get on all fours. And feel your lower back and your breathing with your kidneys. So you would go through these steps until you're confident that you can do them. And if you feel that you can't, then you go back to practicing with pressure on your back. Go back to lying on the ground for a little bit more time until you clearly feel what your kidneys feel like. Doing it in a position without pressure. And remember, it's not just your kidneys, it has to be your lower back also. You want to get those muscles in the lower back stronger through breathing. Get them used to taking pressure because they can.
Mhm.
And now the next step would be to stand up. And then put your hands on your back where your kidneys are. Remember, it can be palms or back of your hands, whichever's more comfortable. And then I want you to go into a qua squat. So sinking down and bending forward, but only go what is a comfortable distance. not more than 70% of what you could do.
David, I'm not going to do that this morning.
That's fine. But then breathe into your kidneys. Recognizing that this bending forward is putting the internal pressure of your body on your kidneys. And of course, in God's, we go into this position a number of times. And then when you think you can do this, just stand up, but keep your hands on your back, on your kidneys. And as you inhale and exhale, make sure that you're getting your lower back and kidneys to move. Your hands should be moving. They're going in and going out. Your breath is going into the kidneys and affecting them. You want to be able to feel that your breath is affecting them. So now relax your arms. Well, we need to transition to doing this with movement. So first, just be aware of breathing with all those parts, with your belly, your diaphragm, your sides, your liver and spleen, and your kidneys and lower back. So they're all expanding and returning at the same rate, and all at the same time. And now go into doing movement 1 and focus on having that breathing work in movement 1. And now go into movement 2. And do your best to make sure you do not hold your breath between inhale and exhale. Now go into movement 3, doing 5 on each side. And make sure your side breathing focuses on the liver and spleen and your kidneys. You have front, side, and back. But in movement 3, you have to make sure your liver and spleen breathing are going as well as your kidney breathing. So when you turn to the side, the movement should, to a great degree, be driven by your side breathing. And then go to movement 4. And really focus on the kidneys. There is a little bit of side breathing when your hands go to the side, but otherwise you really want to focus on your kidney breathing in 4. And then just relax. And sit down again. So what did you feel? What were problems? Questions?
I think that with the expansiveness of the breathing and doing the breathing made the whole movement feel more natural.
Good.
Now, as a woman who has had babies, this is not new exercise for me.
No, it's not.
I worked with midwives in both my pregnancies, and so we did a lot of this work on the floor, breathing, paying a lot of attention to our kidneys, obviously doing a lot of breathing exercises. So I feel very in touch with my kidneys. So this is a kind of a good reminder of that, but not a new exploration by any stretch.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You have an advantage over us.
I do. Same with I remember Carol and I talking about the same with the Kegel exercises. It's something that you also had to do in pregnancy. So
Yeah.
I'm still not really in touch with my kidneys, although having my hands on that area and feeling it expand and contract may help get me there one day, I guess. But
Well, it will, and I would have to say that in addition to my usual recommendation of at least 20 minutes a day on God's if you can, that you ideally, probably for as long as a month, it would be good to do 10 minutes of kidney breathing. And it can be, I've obviously taken you through a whole sequence of practices. You might only do lying on the floor for a few days and really feeling that, and then move on to the next one. But I do really, this is considered to be a really important junction point in God's. Making sure that you really have kidney breathing like Joanne does is really important at this point. And so putting some special focused effort into these practices over a period until you really feel like you have it is I think really important.
yeah. For me, every morning, just to sort of get myself going, I do this sort of homemade combination of calisthenics, yoga, and some stretching, and a lot of it is on my back, and incorporating this breathing into that, I think, will be a natural addition.
Good. Yep. Yeah. If I didn't do my combination every morning, I probably wouldn't be walking around the way I am. Indeed.
I found the other helpful thing here was kind of the stretching in the sacrum, right? Because I did have that problem, about 14 years ago, where it just kind of went out. So I felt that to be an additional help. Particularly since that is a place that tightens up.
Yeah, and that's really important, and I think we don't often emphasize that, but absolutely, being aware that when we talk about the lower back, we're not just talking about where
For the
the,
waist, yeah,
around the waist. We're
right,
talking all the way down into the sacrum.
Yeah.
And it's important to move that area.
yes, yeah.
Anything for you, Bill Nagel?
No, I mean, this is, the lower back, I have a long history of spasms, going from the sacrum up to up popped vertebrae at L4. And a number of years where I was living at the chiropractor. But I would say starting when we did the Negung classes, I haven't been to a chiropractor since then.
Ah,
And this morning reminds me of why. So, getting it loosened up, so,
Good. And strengthened.
yes.
Okay, well, that'll give you something to work on.
Yeah.
great.
I didn't pay particular attention to how you were doing those postures because really I wanted you just to focus on the breathing.
Mhm.
I think one passing comment I would make is remember to be clear about where you're bending and where you're stretching.
Mm.
Mhm.
Because that's important to
Mhm.
not be doing the opposite when you should be doing one. So really think about that. And if you have questions about it, let me know. And I'll say to you again, I'm serious if between now and the next class you have questions that need to be answered, don't hesitate to write or call me. I'll be delighted to hear from you.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Yep.
Have a great couple of weeks practicing.
Thank
Or
you.
week, 1 week. Excuse me.
1 week.
One
Yeah,
week, okay.
Okay.
I will be away next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get, I'll have my computer. I'll be able to get on maybe, but I'll be at someone else's house and, not sure what the schedule is. So
Okay,
if I'm not here, that's why, but I'll be able to practice on the beach of the Outer Banks. So
all
for a
right.
few days anyway.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
enjoy that.
Sounds like a little more fun than practicing in Raleigh, which is one of my other stops, but that's.
Oh
weird.
dear. All right, guys. Take
Okay,
care.
have a good week. Yep.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-da.
Uh,
So you guys had kind of been through that already, but
But it never hurts to be reminded, right?
isn't that the truth?
Isn't that the truth? And like I said, yeah, really, I think I've just not been really thinking about the sacrum within all of that process. So
Hmm.
but that's important.
Also, thinking about this breathing as you're doing the form.
Right.
Because very often we get so hooked into the movement, we forget to breathe. Or
Yeah.
at least breathe fully.
Very fully. Yeah. Right. Right.
And the breath gets shallow, and that doesn't help.
Mm.
So
I also found just now, and I even do this in practice, is that I've been closing my eyes. I think that's part of my concentration. But at the same time, then I feel like I'm not really working on my eyes. They're just kind of there, you know, as we've been talking about the eyes. So I think I'm trying more to keep them open while not seeing everything around me. I think I tend to close them more just because there's a screen in front of me, right? That's not one of the things I want to be staring at.
Yeah,
But I do feel like I need to work on that piece. I do that in the form too sometimes, so yeah.
well, it is a stage I think we all have to go through, because we're so used to taking in so much,
Yeah,
particularly
right.
from screens.
Yeah, right, exactly.
that learning how to allow the eyes to observe but not be involved
Yes.
is it's an adjustment we have to make with our contemporary life, because we all have to use screens and a lot.
Right.
Some of
Too
you
much.
in
Yeah,
your
too
work.
much.
So sometimes it may be that closing your eyes a little bit allows you to make that transition. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. So it's kind of interesting, I think, when you begin to really focus on the breath, to see how it aligns with your movement.
Yeah.
Because it will have kind of a natural tendency to do it in one way or another. And it's also, I think, important to remember that there is no one way that the breath has to work. It can work either way. I mean, your inhale and exhale can align either with energy moving in or out. And it may even be different on different days.
Mm-hmm. But there's still a place for transition, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't, right, whether we're inhaling or exhaling, we're not doing it in the middle of our arms coming up. We're not doing it. I mean, we're kind of aware of that. I think I've just been trying to make sure I at least get one way down and am clear on the transitions. And then I'm more comfortable switching it up. Yeah.
Yep.
So should the breath definitely align somewhere, or should you, I mean, should you, like, essentially do a flow just focusing on your focus on the breath, and kind of wherever the breathing happens, it happens?
Yeah, but the thing that you will probably find is that it will align with the movements in some way.
Okay.
It will naturally do that, you mean?
Naturally have a tendency to do that, yes. And it's kind of interesting when you do that, because you start discovering what the power of the breath. Because it ultimately is part of what you can harness, if you will, as part of the power of these movements. So that's kind of an interesting exploration to play with that. And at the same time, you're absolutely correct. When we think about breathing in terms of breathing without breathing, Master Joe's principle, it doesn't have to align. That's not a necessity, because it's entirely possible to have a flow in which you're continuously breathing. There are no pauses, no breaks, and you breathe entirely the way you would like to breathe, but it may not align with the movement.
Mm,
That's in a way a different practice.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
And I think I think there's value in both.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience.
Mhm.
And
Just, yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of an exploration I would throw out to you to play with breathing with and not with the movement.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting, right before you said that, I was thinking about, you talk about kind of the power of breathing. There's also a disempowerment if there's a worry about focusing on it, I guess. You know, like,
Oh.
am I in the right place or whatever? But the breathing without breathing is a whole different exploration. So, yeah.
Well, and that's why I said it the way I said it before, because if you can not worry about is it right or wrong, but
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
oh, that's the way
Yeah.
it wants to go.
Yep. Right,
Um,
because the worrying is the disempowerment piece of it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. So I think that's a good point, Joanne, to be aware of.
Mhm.
So breathe this week.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Yeah, yeah.
In your
I'm
spare
hoping my
time.
body is
Jo-
feeling much better, so I'm hoping to do more work on the flow this week too. So.
Oh, good. Well, enjoy as much of your trip as you can.
Yes, I think I would. I mean, we're going basically to visit a number of friends in North Carolina. So
Oh, good.
we'll drive, the two of us are driving down starting Friday morning. So, but we a few days in the Outer Banks, a few days in the Pamlico River, and a few days in Raleigh, Durham. So.
Well, you can say hello to Jay Dunbar.
Oh, right, he's in the Durham area. That's right. I tried to connect those friends up with him a while ago. I don't think that ever worked, but I'm staying with them. So
Mhm.
You could try again.
I try again. That's right. Great. Okay. Thank you. Great class.
Good. Take care,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fair enough.
Adam, I hope you continue to feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep working on it.
Good.
Not too hard, but I'll
Are
keep
you-
working on it.
Are you back to work?
Yeah, I started going back to work Monday.
Yeah.
But it's been going all right, you know.
Good.
So not too much practice. I pretty much slept Wednesday to Monday morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well, that's probably what you needed to do.
yeah, that's all. That's what I told myself. So,
Yep, absolutely.
but I'll get back to it.
Okay.
Thanks, David.
Take care, buddy.
Do bye now.
Bye-bye.